Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me. Excuse me, sorry about that. Okay, we are back. This is part 2 of What If Deku had Ultra Ego. And as always, if you guys enjoy, please show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. And as always, please check the links in the description, the Discord, Spotify, the membership if you want to show even more love and support to the channel. But I'll always take a subscriber, a like, and a sub, or I already said that. But yeah, a like and a comment and a sub, all that stuff. That all helps as well. Now, with all that said, I don't want to waste much more of your time because I want to get right into this final episode of the What If. So let's get it. Isuku Madorya is out cold on his hospital bed, but it's not that he's at risk of actually dying. He's just pushed his body and his entire being to a certain kind of sense that nobody could possibly expect. Izuku's level of strength he was showing right then and there was insanity. It was insane in the peak of what everybody was looking at, and at the end of the day, he was just a student that put his absolute health on the line and life on the line to save as many people as possible. And that is exactly what Isuku Madorya did. He tried his best and wanted for everybody to stay alive, wanted to save every single person, and that was his goal, and that's what he tried to get done, and that's what happened. All for one, behind prison, behind bars, and or also Gigantomachia captured and stopped for the moment. And it seems as if Izuku, well, he's looked at as the hero of this story, but he has so much more to do as a potential up-and-coming hero, and has so much more to do as someone who's trying to push himself to be the greatest hero alive. And that right there is what Isuku Madorya wants, and that right there is what Isuku Madorya is going to seek out. And when he wakes up, well, let's just say there's mixed feelings on what multiple people believe and how multiple people look at Isuku Madorya. Some are thinking that Izuku is a flat-out hero, that he did it, that he is so amazing. Others thinking that he risked his life and risked a lot of people's lives as well. And yes, it may have gone well, but it doesn't mean he should be gifted anything. Because, well, on one side, people believe he should just still push and claw his way to the top. And on the other one, well, it seems as if, well, that other people believe that he deserves that hero license ASAP. But of course, Isuku Madorya has no problems at all stepping up into the realm of being a hero, and no problems at all being the hero that so many are asking about. And it seems as if Isuku Madorya, well, he'll take on this challenge anywhere and any freaking time. And Izuku would step forward and tell everybody and tell his classmates and everyone else that he apologizes for putting them at risk, but he also doesn't apologize for stepping up to the plate to try to save those in need and to try to save All Might, someone who he looks up to and will continue to look up to until his hero journey comes to an end. And everybody, well, they believe that Izuku did the right thing, so nobody else is really thinking too hard about the idea of kind of him, you know, being in trouble and all that other stuff. And yes, Aizawa makes him do a couple things to, you know, prove that, yeah, he is kind of in trouble, but he's not really that in trouble. And after some training, after some preparing, they would then go to the provisional hero license exam. Now, during this exam, Izuku would get these balls thrown at him, and people would chuck them at him, thinking that they can somehow eliminate him and really take the glory of taking out somebody who's at the level of Isuku Madorya. But as these balls are thrown, it seems like when they even get near Izuku, borderline if they're about to touch him, they would get evaporated into nothingness. Something that Izuku has been actually thinking about utilizing, and after all of the fighting, after everything that went on, it seems like he is now able to control his Hakai or destruction powers a lot better. And it seems as if he has borderline full control over them, and it makes it so really nobody can touch him, or at least not outerly projectiles can't touch him without getting destroyed in its wake. And Izuku is thinking that this right here is it. This is it, right? This is what he's been really training for. And after eliminating someone else, Izuku would go on to the very next round and would go on to obviously preparing himself and everyone else around him for rescue-like training. And this is the rescue-like portion of this test. And the rescue portion of the test tells a lot about not only the hero, but about just the other people as well. What is going on and what is happening is Isuku Madorya has some choices to make. And the main thing is him making sure that everybody is in a good spot, is safe, and so on and so forth. And that's exactly what Izuku is doing, exactly what Izuku is getting into, and exactly what Izuku is making sure of. Because, well, let's just say that Izuku is able to fly around, make sure that everything is settled, make sure that everything is okay, and obviously he, on top of that, would prepare himself for an eventual arrival of these fake villains. Izuku would watch as Todoroki and Inasa would try their best to actually fend off these fake villains and also Gang Orca. But Izuku would just jump into the action pretty quickly and would immediately fly around, basically knocking out and eliminating a lot of these other fake villains. Now, these villains aren't dying or anything. These fake villains are just, being knocked out. Izuku's just flying around, knocking them out quickly so that they don't have to basically deal with them and they don't have to worry about them in the long run. And of course, that is definitely helpful. But it also seems that his classmates Inasa or his classmate Todoroki and the other student there, Inasa, is having a bit of trouble because they want to utilize both of their own powers, their fire and their wind, but they're clashing with each other, and Izuku yells at them to get their shit in gear. And his eyes would flicker and his aura would spark, and they would be honestly terrified of him. I mean, he says this with a very commanding tone, and they immediately try to get themselves in gear, actually warping and kind of basically warping the wind and fire together and just swirling it around Gang Orca. And as this is happening, Izuku jumps into where the tornado of fire and wind are, and he would stand in front of Gang Orca and tell him that he should surrender now or he'll be up for a fight. And you can tell that he's slowly but surely whittling himself down with the water kind of being taken out of his body quicker than you would think. And well, Izuku's like, well, you got a choice here. You can stop now and surrender, or we can fight right now. And Izuku tells him that he's a lot more into the idea of throwing hands with Gang Orca, in which Gang Orca would be willing to drink some water and actually get rid of the fire and the wind as he's about to take on Izuku, and he stands there facing Gang Orca face to face. The sirens would go off, and let's just say Gang Orca saved himself from an absolute freaking beating. And after all this is said and done, Izuku does pass this exam, or does pass the provisional hero license exam, but he is knocked off some points for the way he talked to his teammates before, the whole thing ended and all that stuff. But of course, Izuku, he did things very good outside of just that, right? He did really well in any other aspect we could possibly think of. So there's really nothing to necessarily worry about in the long run. Now, with that said, though, Izuku has so much more to deal with, and a lot of that includes getting himself into his own or another's work study. And that work study would be with Best Genius once again, because, well, they actually have a bit of a repertoire here, and Izuku actually enjoys working with Best Genius. And he even talks to him, learning from him, and just trying to figure out more aspects of hero work balance that he really can learn from Best Genius. And this is stuff that he believes is very important, and believes that this is insanely important for what he wants to do as a hero. And as he learns, and as Bakugo, you know, kind of refuses to learn in a way, right? Like he's kind of struggling with it a little bit, but with seeing Izuku progressing so heavily, he basically stops himself from holding back, and he continues to try to progress. He continues to try to get better, and having Izuku there just helps Bakugo flourish, and even Best Jeanist understands this, and he can obviously see that Bakugo being there with Izuku, well, that just helps more than anything, really helps him kind of take his game to the next level, even if Izuku does, well, outclass him quite a bit, right? Just because he outclasses Izuku, or Izuku outclasses him, excuse me, doesn't mean he can't push himself to somehow or try to be better in the long run. But obviously some things would ensue and some things would occur. And while he's working with Best Jeanist, it seems like there's other people right now trying to find Overhaul, and also what like the whole Shiha Zaikai base. And as this is all ensuing, Izuku would even get kind of a message from Best Jeanist about joining in on a potential raid for the kind of the Shiha Zaikai base, in which Izuku hears this and hears what's at stake, especially with a little girl being in trouble, and Izuku does not hesitate to say that he is there whenever it is needed, and Best Jeanist says that he thinks that he's the perfect guy for the job, especially because, well, if they run into certain people, they can't touch him anyways, in which Izuku nods his head and says that he'll make him proud. And Best Jeanist says he knows he will, and he heads off to meet up with the group early in the morning. And as he arrives, many people greet him, many other people that are involved, students and other people that know him. And even Mirio introduces himself, shaking his hand. And he even introduces himself to Sir Night-Eye. And Sir Night-Eye says that it seems that All Might has, or Toshinori, has very, very, very good things to say about him, so he expects quite a bit from Isuku Midoriya. Izuku says that he wouldn't expect anything less, and the raid on the Shiha Zaikai base would ensue, as Izuku and Mirio would actually burst through wall after wall. Well, Izuku would, and Mirio would just go through it via, you know, permeation, but they would be hunting for Overhaul himself. When Izuku got filled in for what's happening and what's going on, he knew exactly what needed to get done. He knew that they needed to take this guy down ASAP, and they went hunting through each wall and eventually would stumble across Overhaul. And when they would come across him, this is where things would change, because Mirio and Izuku would work together to try to fight him, but Izuku would tell Mirio eventually that he should focus on getting the little girl out of here. And of course, Overhaul would basically say that there's no way he's letting them leave, as he would send spikes toward Mirio as he's grabbing Eri. But Izuku would stand in front of Mirio as Mirio is about to take the brunt of the blow, because he wouldn't be able to react in time. And as the spikes would smack off of Izuku, all the spikes that were sent his way would shatter into dust. Izuku would tell them to leave right now, and as they're basically seeing all this unfold, Mirio and Eri run off very quickly, or Mirio does, picking her up and running away to safety. Izuku tells Overhaul this is where this ends. He already defeated, or helped defeat, the League of Villains, and they're going to defeat him and his little gang right here and right now. And Overhaul mocks him and says that there's no way. But Izuku runs forward as Overhaul would try to throw anything at him, but they would all just crumble to dust. Even a bullet that would ring off from the side would just clatter off of Izuku, dissipating into nothingness. And, well, there would be a shock that would run through the eyes of Mirio, or would run through the eyes of, Overhaul. And Overhaul would realize the absolute horrible situation that he's in. Izuku would land a punch, a kick, and would begin beating on Overhaul, and parts of him wish that he could just end him, make him disappear forever, and make him disappear as if he never existed. But he knows that's not right, and that's what he shouldn't do. and he makes it so he throws Overhaul outside the building, making it so Overhaul, as a last-ditch effort, tries to even basically combine with another person, a giant person, but even that does not help Overhaul, as Izuku lands one final blow, sending him flying down, and Izuku's wide smile would tell the whole story, as a beating would be taken, and as he would take every single blow and basically give it right back to Overhaul. It seems as if Overhaul realizes that this kid just had his number from the very freaking beginning, as Overhaul would fall right then and right there, and everybody would watch as Overhaul would be defeated, and everybody would watch as, well, he was no more, and Overhaul would be captured, put in cuffs, and sent away for a very, very long time. Izuku would tell all of the people around that Eri's safe, and now this Shihazai Kai gang can be put away for the rest of their lives. After it all is said and done, Izuku would head back to Best Jeanist, would train a little bit more and learn a little bit more from him as well, but also get some work in with his class and another class known as Class 1B, taking on a bit of a fighting role in a way where they go Class 1B versus Class 1A. But in all honesty, this fight is really not a close one, especially because Izuku is so much ahead, or so far ahead, of the people that are set in front of him. And frankly, he's far ahead of everybody that gets set in front. Everybody or anything, except for an interesting aspect where we have Monoma, the Phantom Thief, during this fight of Class 1A versus Class 1B, steal the quirk of Izuku. And as he does, Izuku would tell him to be very, very careful, because doing what he thinks he can do, well, things can go really bad really fast. In which he would then send something at Izuku, sending a blast of some sort, not being able to control it, as Izuku would immediately grab it, absorbing it in a way, and telling him that if he lets that thing go, if he doesn't block it, everything in its path would be destroyed. Izuku would show a tiny little ball of energy, and he would flick it right at something behind Monoma, as it would poof into nothingness, destroying itself. And Izuku tells him that it's time to give it up, it's time to stop, and that's it. And immediately Monoma's like shocked to see this, wondering like, how the hell, like, this can't be real. You can't have those powers. How do you even control them? Like, he almost just decimated an entire fake city block. Like, this doesn't make sense. And which Izuku says that it took a lot of training and a lot of time, but he learned and he figured it out, and now he can control it. He would then appear right next to Monoma, knocking him out and securing the win for Class 1A, and everybody cheers, everyone's happy. But really, it's an interesting feeling knowing that you have somebody with the powers of pure destruction, and him holding himself accountable and holding himself back so that he doesn't destroy the world itself. And that is a scary, scary thing. And many heroes, many heroes, and even agencies and kind of the hero associations watch Izuku and watch closely, because they never know what happens if he gets, or his anger gets the best of him. What happens if his want and thrill for a battle, his pride, gets the best of him? What if one day their worst fears happen? What if one day he destroys something they love? What if one day he destroys everything? What if the destruction itself is too much for him to yearn for, is too much for him to want, and he decides to let loose? He decides to destroy more and more and more, and his want and thirst for battle is too much to crave, and Isuku Madorya is, well, something to be feared. But that's not the case. Izuku continues to help out through his first and second years of UA, and he continues to work and help, and all throughout the third, and then eventually his graduation. Izuku's chance to become a pro hero has never stopped and has never wanted it to be stopped. And he continues to push forward. Now, is there people out there that fear the way he fights, fear the lust for battle? Of course they do. There always will be people that way. Because at the end of the day, Isuku Madorya is not All Might. He is not a happy-go-lucky, smiley hero that makes everyone feel safe. Isuku Madorya saves people. Isuku Madorya helps people, but he also helps himself. He helps himself quench his thirst for battle day in and day out when he looks and allows people to even hurt him in the first place. That thrill of the battle doesn't really come when he just immediately defeats a foe. So yes, he does push himself in different ways, and yes, people may see him as a freak, but it doesn't change the fact that he's going to be and is one hell of a hero. Because yes, having an ego may make you dangerous, but this version of things and Isuku Madorya's ego, well, that's what makes him a great hero. And with that said, Izuku's climb to the number one, well, it may never be quenched. It may never stop, but maybe that's for the best. Because if he got to the top, if he got to be number one, then who says that he'll stop there? Who says that he won't just give up when he's already landed himself at the pinnacle? So keeping him hungry is what makes him a great hero and helps him climb higher and higher as he gets stronger and stronger. And this right here is a true hero. Knowing how to change the idea and the outlook of your own quirk into something beautiful. How Isuku Madorya changed the outlook of destruction into a different one where people believed that just because he utilizes destruction doesn't mean he can't be one of the greatest heroes. Now, with that said, that is the end of the story of Isuku Madorya and the end of what if Isuku Madorya or what if Deku had Ultra Ego. And if you guys enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.